Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Alicia Eichmann. Welcome to my reading corner. In this episode, we're going to continue on with The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav. And today, we're going to talk about karma. Chapter 2 is a short chapter, but it is a big topic. So I'm going to start reading and then stop here and there to, as I want to just point things out and help us to contemplate this this concept. And I just want to encourage you to be open and curious and just kind of ask the question, like, what if? What if this was true? What if reality was more like this? What if the world is bigger and more mysterious? And I don't know, I just think these concepts are incredibly empowering, and yeah, I want to encourage you to be open. Okay, karma. Most of us are accustomed to the belief that our participation in the process of evolution is limited to the duration of a single lifetime. This belief reflects the perspective of the five sensory personality. That's like normal. From the point of view of the five sensory personality, nothing of itself lasts beyond its lifetime, and there is nothing in the experience of the five sensory human that is not of itself. The multisensory human, too, understands that nothing of itself lasts beyond its lifetime, but it is also aware of its immortal soul. So this is his language. He's constantly contrasting and comparing the five sensory human and the multisensory human. And his argument is that through our evolution in the past, we've been five sensory humans, but our species is evolving to this next stage of being multisensory humans. Okay, so here's his premise for the chapter. The lifetime of your personality is one of a myriad of experiences of your soul. The soul exists outside of time. Now, in other episodes, we'll get into time more, but that's something to just start thinking about, and it's mind bending. I know it's out there, but we've already learned from science that time is not quite as like permanent or exact or straight as we thought it was. So just think about this. He says the soul exists outside of time. The perspective of the soul is immense, and the perception of the soul is without the limitations of the personality. Souls that have chosen the physical experience of life as we know it, as a path of evolution, have in general incarnated their energies many times into many psychological and physical forms. So he's saying souls that have chosen to have physical experiences. That means every human who's alive right now. He's saying everybody has a soul, so every human being on this planet is a soul. And he's saying that those souls who are humans, he's saying most humans, their souls have previous lives. The soul has had many incarnations. For each incarnation, the soul creates a different personality and body. The personality and the body that, for the five sensory human, are the experiential entirety of its existence, are for the soul the unique and perfectly suited instruments of a particular incarnation. So this is all about perspective, right? He's saying that the five sensory human, which is just the normal traditional mindset of like one lifetime, this is all you've got, that's it. In that case, like your physical body, your experience is the entirety of your human experience. But he's saying for the multisensory human, he's trying to open us up to this idea. He's painting a broader picture. He's zooming out and saying, what if your soul was bigger than your experience in this lifetime? Let's just keep going. Each personality contributes in its own special way, with its own special aptitudes and lessons to learn, consciously or unconsciously, to the evolution of its soul. The life of a mother, a warrior, a daughter, a priest, the experiences of love, vulnerability, fear, loss, and tenderness, the struggles with anger, defiance, emptiness, and jealousy, all serve the evolution of the soul. So big picture, he's talking about this idea. What if you are a soul? You're a spiritual being with an eternal soul, having a human experience, and there's part of you that can learn to tap into the greater wisdom of your soul, and that soul exists outside of time. So it exists forever, and it has had previous experiences, and it has come here to wrap itself in this human flesh and this personality. So like what colors you like, what hobbies you like, the way that you talk, introverted, extroverted, right? Like all that kind of stuff, that's your personality, and that will die when your body dies. But there is a part of you that is immortal, that is your soul, and your soul is come into this experience to learn and to grow and to heal things. And so he's saying that the positive emotions, the negative emotions, the negative experiences, he's saying that all of those contribute to the experience of your soul in a positive way. And I know that can be kind of mind-bending too, but what this is leading us to is a theology of acceptance and a totally new perspective, a shift in our thinking and a new perspective on life. And I've taken this journey, and I just want to encourage you to go with it and to feel into it, and to be open and to follow the rabbit trail. Because it really does, it leads to personal empowerment and inner peace, and it's amazing. Okay, each physical, emotional, and psychological characteristic that comprises a personality in its body, strong or weak arms, dense or penetrating intellect, happy or despairing disposition, yellow or black skin, even hair and eye color, is perfectly suited to its soul's purpose. He's saying everything about you is perfectly suited to the purpose of your soul. So if you can begin to trust that who your parents are, who your siblings are, what your circumstances are, what your physical limitations are, your gifts, your strengths, your weaknesses, every single detail suits the purpose of your soul. If you can just take a leap of faith and kind of trust that that's true, or imagine it, or at least entertain, like, what if that was true? What if every single detail about your life had a higher purpose that your soul understands, that you don't know, but that you could learn to tap into? Well, that's incredibly empowering, because then that takes us out of a victim mindset, out of an object mindset, into co-creating with the universe, into personal power and responsibility for our lives. That's what all this is about. Okay. The five-sensory personality is not aware of the many other incarnations of its soul. A multisensory personality may be conscious of these incarnations or experience them as its own past or future lives. They are in its family of lives, so to speak, but they are not lives that it itself has lived. They are experiences of its soul. From the point of view of the soul, all of its incarnations are simultaneous. So he's talking about how the soul is outside of time, which that's mind-bending. Let's just go with it. Keep going. Okay. All of its personalities exist at once. Therefore, the release of negativity that occurs in one of the soul's incarnations benefits not only itself, but all of its soul's other incarnations also. Because the soul itself is not confined to time, the past of a personality as well as its future is enhanced when a personality releases currents of fear and doubt. And that's like part of like just overall broad purpose for us being here is to take the journey of unlearning fear and realigning with love. Like the journey back to love from fear is a journey that we're all on in some way. That's like that's the journey that we're all on. Okay. As we shall see, the release of negativity by a personality benefits a great many other dynamics of consciousness as well. Some of these can be perceived by the five-sensory human, but appear to him or her neither as dynamics of consciousness, nor as related to his or her own inner processes, such as the consciousness and evolution of his or her sex, race, nation, and culture. He gets into that more later. Others extend far beyond the perceptual ability of the five-sensory human. A conscious lifetime, therefore, is a treasure beyond value. What he's saying is that as you awaken and become more enlightened, or whatever word you want to use for just taking the journey of freedom, just leaving fear behind and growing into love, leaving the ego behind, growing into your soul, growing in compassion and goodness and light. Just everything that you do to have less fear and darkness and negative emotion in your life, to moving to positive emotion, to acceptance instead of resistance, fear instead of love instead of fear. All of those things, everything that you do, even when you're by yourself at home and nobody's watching, everything that you do, it affects your consciousness, your vibration, your energetic existence. As it becomes lighter and more loving, it energetically and spiritually affects just the rest of the world in so many dynamics and aspects. It's what he's saying, and he gets into that more, but there's so many exciting ramifications from that. We'll get into energy. Okay. The personality and its body are artificial aspects of the soul. When they have served their functions at the end of the soul's incarnation, the soul releases them. They come to an end, but the soul does not. After an incarnation, the soul returns to its immortal and timeless state. It returns once again to its natural state of compassion, clarity, and boundless love. This is the context in which our evolution occurs, the continual incarnation and reincarnation of the energy of the soul into the physical arena, into our earth school. Okay. Why does this happen? Why is it necessary even to speak of personalities and souls? The incarnation of a soul is a massive reduction of the power of the soul to a scale that is appropriate to a physical form. It is a reduction of an immortal life system into the framework of time and the span of a few years compared to eternity, right? He's talking about a soul making itself smaller and fitting itself into the human experience. It is the reduction of a perceptual system that partakes simultaneously through direct experience of countless lifetimes, some of them physical and some of them non-physical, to the 5 physical senses. The soul chooses voluntarily to undertake this experience in order to heal. The personality is those parts of the soul that require healing, along with those parts of the soul, such as compassion and love, that the soul has lent to the process of healing in that lifetime. Okay, I love this idea. And I know it, I mean, for many of us, depending on where you are, it can sound far-fetched and crazy. But this is where I just want to be like, what if it's true? Or what if you lived as if it was true? I think I like, this is in the category of myth for me, where I want to talk more about myths. And I've got some books I want to read. They're going to help us tease this out. I know about just like the role of myths in our lives. But we know stories are so powerful to us. Like, stories speak to us. But mythology, it affects the way that we think about our life, and what is it that really matters? The results are what matter. If we adopt new ways of thinking about ourselves spiritually and intellectually and emotionally and physically, and those new ways of thinking about our lives, if they make us much more wonderful, loving, compassionate people, well, it's the fruit of the Spirit, right? The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, etc. So if you believe things that produce those things, that is good. That is good. Those myths are good. And whether it's like absolutely true in an absolute sense, I mean, that can be a separate discussion. So I just want to tease out what he's saying. He's saying that, where'd I go? The soul chooses voluntarily to undertake this experience in order to heal. So the soul takes part of itself that will be useful, that will be tools that are needed, compassion and love. And it will take on a personality, and it will take on the details. It will choose the details of your lifetime. It will create a scenario. It's coming down when a baby is born. When the soul comes into the baby's born. A soul is choosing to have a physical experience, to have those parents. It's submitting itself to that experience, to that lifetime. And we grow up, and part of the process is that we don't remember that. Most of us, there's a few incredible people that do. Most of us don't remember that. And then it's a process of growing and growing, developing, right, as a human, but then growing back into whatever the lesson is, whatever the learning is, whatever it needs to be healed in the soul, whatever the experience is that the soul is facilitating, that it's here to do. What if your soul chose your circumstances and every detail about you? That means that you can relax and open up to that and embrace the process and the experience. And all of these spiritual concepts can bring you to a place of an incredible acceptance and inner peace where you can move forward joyfully, taking ownership. And okay. The personality is those parts of the soul that require healing, along with those parts of the soul, such as compassion and love, that the soul has lent to the process of healing in that lifetime. The splintered aspects of the soul, the aspects that require healing, need to interact in physical matter so that each part of the splinteredness can become whole. The personality is like a complex mandala that is formed from these splintered parts in addition to the parts that are not splintered. It comes directly from the parts of the soul that the soul has chosen to work on in this lifetime to heal, that need to experience physical matter, and those parts of the soul has given to the process of healing in which you are involved. Therefore, you can see within a person's personality the splintered suffering of the soul from which it was formed, as well as the grace that the soul has earned, which is the loving of the personality. So it all comes together. Those the different aspects that are coming together to form your experience. Consider how powerful the soul is if it can have a part of itself that experiences great love, a part of itself that experiences fears, a part that is perhaps neutral, a part that experiences schizophrenia, and a part that is dramatically compassionate. If any of these parts are incomplete, the personality that the soul forms will be out of harmony. The harmonious personality is one in which the soul flows easily through the part of itself that is in touch with its physical incarnation. Okay. The soul is. It has no beginning and no end, but flows toward wholeness. The personality emerges as a natural force from the soul. It is an energy tool that the soul adapts to function within the physical world. Each personality is unique because the configuration of energy of the soul that formed it is unique. It is the persona of the soul, so to speak, that interacts with physical matter. It is a product that is formed from the vibrational aspect of your name, the vibrational aspect of your relationship to planets at the time of your incarnation, and vibrational aspects of your energy environment, as well as from the splintered aspects of your soul that need to interact in physical matter in order to be brought into wholeness. Okay, so there's a lot there, and I don't understand all of it, but I've been empowered by this myth, so I just wanted to present it to you for your consideration. I want you to encourage you to be open. This is a time in our lives when we need to allow our beliefs about ourselves and God and the nature of the world to evolve, to move on with God, to move forward into a new understanding of ourselves and our world. It's okay to think new thoughts than what was written down 2,000 years ago. And we'll get into that, but it's okay. The personality does not operate independently from the soul. To the extent that a person is in touch with spiritual depths, the personality is soothed because the energy of consciousness is focused on its energy core and not on its artificial facade, which is the personality. Okay, so many words. They're starting to all place together. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay, here. What is involved in the healing of a soul? Most of us are accustomed to the idea that we are responsible for some of our actions, but not all of them. We consider ourselves responsible, for example, for the good deed that brings our neighbor and us together, or for responding to it positively, but we do not consider ourselves responsible for the argument between us and our neighbor, or for responding to it negatively. We consider ourselves responsible for having a safe trip if we take the time to check the condition of the car before starting. But if we speed around a car that in our opinion has been traveling too slowly and almost caused an accident by doing that, we consider the other driver to be responsible. If we feed and clothe ourselves for our successful business, we credit ourselves. If we feed and clothe ourselves by burglarizing apartments, we blame our difficult childhood. Okay, he says, for many of us, being held responsible is equal to getting caught. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Every action, thought, and feeling is motivated by an intention. And that intention is a cause that exists as one with an effect. If we participate in the cause, it is not possible for us to not participate in the effect. Okay. Basically what he's talking about is a new way of viewing our responsibility for the world. And I've heard several authors talk about this. And I think my point with all of this is I just want to encourage you to think much bigger about the influences on you and your influence on the world, your purpose for being here, and the story that you tell yourself about your life and how you got here and why you're here. I'm going to read this. In the back here, he says something about... okay, I'm going to read his study. There's just a paragraph from his study guide about this chapter. Okay. Because the whole point of this is creating authentic power. That's the end result for all of what he's talking about. He says, creating authentic power requires that you become responsible for everything you create. That's the point. He says, the universal law of cause and effect shows how you already are responsible for everything that you create, and knowledge of it gives you a strong incentive to create healthy and constructive experiences with your choices. Okay, here's his definition of karma. This is interesting. This is the law of karma. What you cause another to experience, you or another personality of your soul will also experience. Conversely, what another personality of your soul causes in the experience of another, you may experience also. Karma is the impersonal universal teacher of responsibility. When you understand that your experiences are karmic necessities, you are less likely to take them personally, to react with anger, righteous outrage, judgment. This means you will create fewer painful experiences and more joyful experiences for yourself and other personalities of your soul. So, I don't know how much of a stretch that is for you, but this all ties together with all the different things that I've been reading. It ties together to what is sometimes in common culture, it's called the law of attraction. But just energy. This all comes back to understanding ourselves in more of an energetic. We need a new framework. We need an energetic framework for understanding our lives. We are energy. We have an energy body that overlaps our physical body. We'll get into that. We are energy. We are spirit. Everything is spirit, which is energy, and then it manifests as matter. Your thoughts and emotions are energy. They're so I always like to give the example. You, in everything that you do, you infuse it with the energy with which you do it, right? So if you give somebody something and you're like, here, just take this, it doesn't feel good. That gift is infused with bad energy. But if you put love, if you create a labor of love, people can feel that. And your kid may draw a picture, or you might make something creative for a friend. It's simple. It just is what it is, but you can feel the love. Okay. So many examples, right? Like, we know there are all these different common experiences that we just kind of take for granted. But if we start to string them together and look at the bigger picture, it's time for everyone alive today to start to open up to and embrace this truth of our energetic nature and the energetic nature of our world and the interconnectedness of everything. And within that, we're going to need a new framework for thinking about ourselves and how we got here. So I just think there's so much power in this concept. I'm trying to think how to wrap this together, because I mean it's mind-bending for me too. But once you get a certain part over the hump or over the bridge, you start to see and feel the light that this just illuminates in your soul. So with the law of attraction stuff talks about how you attract what you are thinking about, and with that, and there's Wayne Dyer and Carolyn Mist both talk so much about how that concept is not meant to be something that fosters greed, but it's meant to be something that supports your spiritual journey. When you really get into your spiritual journey, you will lose your greed and your focus on physical things and your focus on accumulating things. And when you really get into it and you really get into what the, Carolyn Myss calls the mystical principles, when you really get down this road, you release those things that are the causes of the desires and the focus of the ego. You lose that sense of like, oh, I've got to accumulate these things so that people will think whatever of me. You lose that, and you really find peace, and you find love for yourself and for others, and you find this heart for service. And so you really make this flip in your soul where you awaken to your soul and your true priorities and desires, your true values, and then you desire that which will help you to be creative and be joyful, so that you can serve, and so that you can give, and so that you can give of your gifts, and you can find your calling and live into your strengths and live into why you're here and what you're meant to do. And when you get into that energy, instead of like, I want a boat or a car or like whatever the thing is, like a clothes, like whatever the like, oh, I just want to manifest this thing, get out of that and you get into the like, oh, you get into it really. You're like, oh, how can I serve? When you're in alignment with love and service and joy and living from your true nature and your true calling, then the universe surrounds you with assistance, and that which you need just comes in as you need it, and you walk that path of trust and faith. And so, yeah, to wrap this up, I would just say there's just very broadly, there's this sense where if you believe everything will work out for you, if you have a car accident, you think, maybe I'm supposed to meet that person. Maybe I wasn't supposed to go where I was going. You see everything in a different perspective. When you wake up earlier, wake up in the middle of the night, you think, maybe I'm supposed to pray. Maybe there's something I need to think about, instead of being grumpy about not getting enough sleep. When you make this switch, you set your intention to live aligned with spirit and to see purpose and spirit and everything, and then you do. And then I was just recording chapter 5 and 6 of my book, and so it reminded of the quote, I don't remember the guy's name, where he just says, in my world nothing ever goes wrong. Well, you can get to that point when you really awaken and go on this journey of enlightenment, and you take the spiritual journey. You really do make this shift to where in my world nothing goes wrong, because you have this larger perspective. And I know it's one of those, for many of us, it's like this like, oh, Eastern karma, haha, it's a joke for comedies or whatever. But I really believe there's a powerful spiritual principle for us to recover here with karma. And it's this sense of like, if you super zoom out, and he talks about it more later in the book, but I've heard different people talk about it. But for summarizing it right now, if you really zoom out really big and you really think about your life from a much bigger perspective, you can trust the universe. And there's just, I don't know, there's this spiritual teaching that we can contemplate that just says that if you zoom out big enough, it is, I don't know if I want to say the universe is fair, but it's balanced. It is balanced. There is purpose in everything. It's so easy. It's the biggest challenge for many to embarking on the spiritual journey, is looking around at our world and saying, oh, this is wrong, that's wrong, this pain's happening, those people are suffering. If God was real, he should step in and just whatever. Well, those are objections to an old image of God that is not the image, like everyone who is on, like all the influential spiritual teachers today, if you look up that list, it's not evangelical pastors on that list. The influential spiritual teachers who are taking us forward, they're showing us how to reconcile religions so that they'll stop fighting and killing each other. They're showing us how to reconcile races, how to reconcile economic levels. They're showing us how to move forward together. Like, we have mixed globally. Okay, now I'm just super off and over time. But we have mixed globally in this interconnected world. And then, I mean, between the travel and the internet, there is no going back. we've been exposed to ideas very different from ourselves, and we are going to have to find a common ground so that we don't destroy each other, so that Buddhists and Muslims stop fighting each other, and Christians and Jews stop arguing, and Christians and Muslims stop killing each other, etc., 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 etc. We've got to find a new perspective on spirituality outside of religion that's not exclusive, that is unifying, that is loving. And these spiritual teachers, all the books that I talk about, and you can look up who they are, look up the list. These teachers are guiding us into the future of how we need to evolve in our spiritual understanding of the world. And I haven't read Ken Wilber yet, but I know I looked at it a bit, and his concept is this, like, the integral approach. And he's just talking about how I would totally agree with him, that every culture, every religion, all these different traditions, they all have gems. They all have gems of beautiful truths inside of them, and we need to pull them out together and gather them and bring them in. And that's what I haven't read his books yet. Just started one of them, but I know that that's his approach. And I'm like, yes, that's what we need. That's what we need. That's what, and it's going to be challenging for our ego. It's going to be challenging for people who still identify with the old world and their religion and who they are and what they do and what people say of them and whatever. I'm thinking of Wayne Dyer's list of the beliefs of the ego. But there's a shift that we need to make, and there are spiritual teachers who witness to spirit with their presence, with their teachings. They have this otherworldly quality to them. You recognize them when you see them. If you're open, you recognize it when you see it. The fruit of their actions speaks to it. The truth of their teachings is self-evident. And we need to let go of this part of our past and our religious upbringing that hears certain words like karma and is just like, whoa, time out. Nope, not. Moving on. Yeah, there are some mystical principles, and I'm going to courageously start talking about some of them, and I want to open us up to having a conversation about this. And karma is just this beautiful concept that is all about, it's related to the journey of the soul and the theology of the soul that we're going to talk about, but in its essence is this idea of just zooming out and backing up to this much, much, much broader picture of life outside of time and space, just this bigger perspective. What if you have many lives? What if every time you put out positivity into the universe, you're raising the positive energy level of everyone, and you are energetically connected to yourself and others and to your other selves, apparently. But it's just this idea that what you contribute to the universe comes back to you because of this incredible energetic connection. And this is a new concept for many of us, but this is where we're going, and this is where we need to go. And the most challenging part of it is just being open to something new and being willing to shift our identity and our beliefs. And it's hard because we have not done that in a long time. But that's why Christianity and some of these religions are behind the ball. Rob Bell talks about how if the church stays married to a certain revelation or form or function of God long enough, eventually God will move past them. God is always moving forward. But if we get married to spirituality looking a certain way, God in spirit is continually breathing truth and love and messages into us every day, every hour, every year, throughout time. And so if we hold on too long to what was given in the Mediterranean during the Roman Empire, or in China during a certain time period, we are out of balance because we are fearful of getting it wrong, or we're fearful of change, or we're fearful of moving forward. So we stay married to that which is created for a context that we are no longer living in. Yeah, so many things. I'm going to stop. That was a fun discussion, introduction to the concept of karma using The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav. Thank you so much for listening or watching. I will see you next time in my reading corner. All right. Goodbye.